appearance on Dion's Daily Dose does not imply endorsement from or by any candidate or guest. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by Dion Bergeron or Dion's Daily Dose are his own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of any guest. Material and information presented is for general information purposes only. The Dion's Daily Dose name in all forms and abbreviations are the property of its owners, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service. If you'd like to support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Dion's Daily Dose.
All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Dion's Daily Dose, March 16th, 2024. I'm going to apologize in advance for my eye. I got like a sty right at the corner here, and it hurts, but it also looks very red. It looks like somebody punched me in the face or something, but they didn't. It's just I got a thing. So I'm going to bring Shawn on. We got a good show for you guys today. There's a lot of stuff going on. There he is.
Thanks for having me again.
As always, man, you are always welcome. Noticing I'm having whatever. Okay, some sort of connection issue. I might have to redo my what do they call it? The cookies and stuff on your browser when it gets full. I start to have connection problems, but whatever. All right, so hopefully interesting. Well, whatever. I might take care of that here in a minute if it continues being an issue, because it does look like it keeps popping up with connection is unstable. So I'm wondering, you know what? The first topic is that ISIS is back. Now you're very familiar with this, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let you talk to the viewers and fill them in, and I'm actually going to try to clear my cache and then come back.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So. ISIS, while he was president, he killed their leader, Bad Daddy, and he was afraid.
I thought, just for a split second, I thought you said Bad Daddy.
Bad Daddy.
I know, but it wasn't me. I was like, yeah, Bad Daddy, Bad Daddy.
But yeah, Trump was afraid that this was going to happen.
He called it. He did.
And what he tried to do before he left office, he was hoping he'd get 4 more years, but he was actually got some controversy and heat because he was actually negotiating with the Taliban, because in the Middle East, it's not the best situation in Afghanistan.
Right.
So your options are basically the Taliban or ISIS.
Yeah.
I know the Taliban helped Al Qaeda do 9/11, but I'd rather have the Taliban in control of Afghanistan than ISIS.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, the thing is they're both rather fundamentalist, right? I mean, they're very, well, for lack of a better term, they're very Islam, right? They make their women wear the head coverings and the burqa, right? There's burqas, and then there's something else.
And they're also bringing back the public hangings. Like there was an article a week ago talking about how people filling sports arenas in Afghanistan and people might be hanged. But anyway, so we would want a stable Afghan government, which the U.S. tried to do. Yeah. But we didn't succeed in that. So the best option is the Taliban. When you don't have the people with you, it's very hard to govern.
Well, one of the interesting things that I found when I looked into it, because when Trump was talking about the Taliban and what was happening in Afghanistan and our attempt to pull out, right? He talked about how it is impossible to set up a government in Afghanistan without basically bringing in the various, you can call them warlords, you can call them tribal chieftains, you can call them whatever you want, but they're the real power. They're who the people look to. They're your local leaders. And all of these people, in a greater or lesser degree, are involved with either ISIS, Taliban, or Al Qaeda, or something else. The biggest predominant force there is the Taliban. They actually ruled. If you talk about on a social level, right, on the ground level, in people's homes, that's who they went to get stuff done. They went to the Taliban leaders, and many of the various military forces that served over there confirmed that in multiple interviews. They're like, yeah, he's telling the truth. You're not going to get anything done unless you're willing to concede power to a degree to the Taliban, because they're in charge.
And Biden should have never left the way that he left Afghanistan.
Bruh, that was ridiculous. And we don't need to rehash that, but it's insane how badly it was.
And I have a conspiracy theory that
I love those
weapons on purpose,
because
we can't give the weapons to the Taliban directly. So we knew that once we left, there was going to be a power vacuum. So this is just my theory. I never heard it, but we knew that there would be a power vacuum.
Okay.
So instead of giving the weapons directly to the Taliban,
we just left them there, all intact. And I will say this, right? So I have a friend, 5th Special Forces, right? It is standard operating procedure that if you leave, because sometimes you can't get everything out, right? You're going to have to leave some stuff behind. But standard operating procedures is to destroy the equipment. Thermite grenades, various things that they put a thing on an engine block and it burns through the engine block. It's like thermite.
I didn't hear that, but I've heard people saying that we destroy it.
You always destroy what you leave. Right? Because you don't want to hand the enemy free stuff.
Which we did.
And now billions of dollars worth, I might add, right? Multi-billion dollars worth of free Humvees and rocket launchers and weapons.
And we don't know where those weapons are now, because they could be in ISIS hands now.
Yeah. So that's the thing, right? So, and I think that there is probably a great deal of truth to that, to your statement there. I believe so, because why else would you leave all this stuff there intact? Come on, man. Like, it makes no sense. Here's the thing. Even if like you got these boxes of ammo, right? Toss a grenade in there as you walk out, or set a fuse or something. There's no reason to leave this stuff unmolested, perfectly intact for the enemy to use, right? But as you say, and you bring up a good point, we are in a political turmoil, or at least a political time, where our leaders who used to do this stuff all the time, remember, that's what the Iran-Contra thing was about. That's what, like, our government has been shipping arms to, quote, freedom fighters forever. I mean, freaking forever, man. So, yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
And another thing that they're doing is they're going, ISIS is actually, they haven't done this before, is actually going for elected office, and they're being elected like mayors and city councils in Afghanistan, which is scary.
That's terrifying. Because, like you said, out of the two, I would rather have the Taliban. The Taliban has shown they're willing to work with the United States. They don't love us. No, they don't like us. But they're willing to sit down and have discussions. They're willing to talk.
What they're trying to do right now on the world stage is get legitimacy.
Yeah.
They're like going to the European Union, and they're going to different places trying to become the legitimate people.
Right.
And that's the controversy, is should we give them legitimacy?
What do you think?
That's a really hard question.
I'm going to say this. It doesn't matter how we feel about them. It doesn't matter, because in many cases they were chosen. Now, Are their elections secure? I don't know. Are they using our standard? But that said, right, if they were legitimately elected by the people who live there, who the hell are we to say, no, you can't be the representative?
And they're still better than ISIS.
Right.
At the end of the day.
Right. I mean, the Taliban is. They're not.
They're brutal.
They're brutal, but compared to ISIS, I mean, and again, who are we to pick? Because these people are representing the locals, and they have chosen them. And you know what, dude? I'll say this: a lot of people, and I'm no fan of Afghanistan at all. The entire situation over there sucks. But if you lived there and you saw this foreign invading force for what, 20 freaking years we've been there now, something like that, right? 21 years.
I think we still have people there, but we're out now. Allegedly.
Now we are. But for 20 years almost, we were there. And we were, in every sense of the word, the government. And this is a foreign force on your soil. I'm surprised there weren't more people that didn't care for us. But like the servicemen have said, they had really good relations. That's why they had that guy. There was a movie that was done about it, but the guy who went back on his own money to Afghanistan to evacuate his translator. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I can't think of the group.
I can't think of the group or the name, but yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. They made a full-length feature film about it, which I haven't seen, but I want to. And he went there to get him out because they had incredibly good relations with the people of Afghanistan. It was just the ruling class and the terrorists. But how do you know how you would react if your country was invaded by a foreign power? I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't have done it, but I can understand.
I still believe in the war in Afghanistan.
Fair.
Iraq, not so much. I changed my. But anyway, ISIS is making strains not in just Afghanistan. They're also doing it in Africa. See what's happening.
I'm glad you brought that up because I had heard that ISIS was actually showing up in Africa.
Because France is leaving their troop, pulling out their troops,
and
there's a power vacuum now in certain African countries where ISIS is just taking over.
Interesting.
And they're fighting with Boko Haram, the terrorist organization.
Okay.
There. So they'll probably easily beat Boko Haram.
So this is ISIS attacking Boko Haram?
They're attacking each other.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, let the terrorists kill each other as far as I'm concerned, right?
True. I don't want ISIS to have a foothold.
Well, yeah, I don't want to see them grow. I mean, that's the bottom line. And bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that ISIS was a massive problem when Trump took office. I mean, it was huge and essentially controlled a large portion of the Middle East.
Iraq and Syria, and then they're making footholds. I haven't heard a lot. I don't know if they're making footholds. They really haven't said much in Iraq or Syria. But I bet they will in Yemen soon because Yemen's been a failed state for years.
Yeah. Yemen's got all kinds of crazy stuff going on. But yeah, you guys can look it up on the Daily Beast. ISIS is back and threatens to be deadlier than ever is the headline. Feel free to read it. I think that's pretty much it about that, unless there's anything you want to add.
No.
Moving on. So I don't know if you guys have seen this, but there was a big thing in Canada where they wanted to offer assisted suicide to people. Now, but that was my first thought when I saw this one, but this is actually from France. France's Macron announces bill for assisted dying. French President Emmanuel Macron will present a bill on assisted dying to go before Parliament in May, he said, blah, blah, blah. The move could make France the next European country to legalize euthanasia for the terminally ill. Now, that's a key distinction there between this and Canada's bill. Terminally ill. following a long consultation with a committee of French citizens on, quote, active assistance to dying. Only adults, keyword there, adults, with full control of their judgment, suffering an incurable and life-threatening illness in the short to medium term, and whose pain cannot be relieved, will be able to, quote, ask to be helped to die, Macron told the LaCroix and Liberation newspapers. So there's more, but that pretty much sums up really what you want to know. There's a couple of things here. Up until now, French patients in pain wishing to end their lives have had to travel abroad, including to neighboring Belgium. A 2005 law has legalized passive euthanasia, such as withholding artificial life support, as a right to die, pulling the plug. A 2016 law allows doctors to couple this with deep and continuous sedation for terminally ill patients in pain. But active euthanasia, whereby doctors administer lethal doses of drugs to patients suffering from an incurable condition, is illegal. Assisted suicide, whereby patients can receive help to voluntarily take their own life, is also banned. So this would make it to where people who were fully cognizant of the world around them, so no dementia, no Alzheimer's, no nothing like that, who have a condition that they cannot be cured of, and who are expected to basically lie there in pain until they eventually pass. I'm not opposed.
I think people should have that choice.
If all of that is accurate, if that is accurate reporting, and I'm very particular about that because the Canadian version of this was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And I covered it at the time, I think. But the short version is, if you're feeling down, ask your doctor if assisted suicide is for you. No, dude, what? No. I'm gonna say this. I have a particularly personal connection to stuff like this because my father actually died of bone cancer. He had contracted bone cancer, and it basically ate him away from the inside out. It's one of the most horrific things I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. He was very, very weak, and he was forced to writhe in pain and die because there comes a point where, especially with particularly aggressive forms of cancer, that the body cannot fight the pain. The pain is beyond all medication that they can give, even stuff like fentanyl, and it doesn't touch it. Like morphine, the extractives thereof, it reaches such. It's why many jurisdictions that are very aggressively anti-marijuana or cannabis will allow it for cancer patients, because the pain is it is unfixable. The medications don't work. Nothing works. It's horrific. Anyway, had my father looked at me and said, I don't want to live like this anymore, that should be his right. Uh-huh. I mean, we're not talking about someone who's confused about everyday things or particularly political things. We're talking about someone who has reached the end of their life. They just haven't stopped yet. Like the car's out of gas. It's just rolling now. Why not apply the e-brake? They're not going anywhere. Like, it's not changing anything. And it always like kind of trips me up a little bit with the people that are like, all life is sacred. And now I absolutely agree that life is sacred, right? I am pro-life. I believe in certain things. But, and this is a key distinction, when you're an adult capable of your own decisions and you have an incurable, lethal, painful disease, what are you proving by forcing this person to live in excruciating pain?
the thing that you got to worry about is it getting to the point where the government is just killing people.
Yeah, and that's my big issue with the one in Canada, and that's what I thought when I read the headline. I was like, oh boy, here we go again. No, at the same time, and you bring up a very good point. I want the government involved in it as little as possible, preferably not at all, because once they start with that, right, that's just kind of cracking the door a little bit. Then it goes to death panels. Are you familiar with those? Yeah. And that's one thing that these particularly liberal professors that love socialized medicine fail to mention when they're talking about these programs. Unfortunately, one of the results of having a system where everyone gets medical care, you have to prioritize it. Now, we saw that in Italy during the pandemic, where they were deciding, well, you're too old, you don't qualify for health care anymore. We're just going to let you die. Look it up if you don't believe me. It happened. The Netherlands, I think it's the Netherlands, where if you're pregnant with a child with Down syndrome, you are forced to abort it, or you have to take on full financial responsibility. They still take your taxes, by the way. You're still paying taxes for health care,
country it was,
but not for them.
Who had 0% of their population had people with Down syndrome. I don't remember what that was.
I think that's Netherlands.
I think it was.
I'm going to look it up.
What I was going to say
go ahead.
Was I got to wait. I think to put a little protection in there, if this would come to the United States, every state should decide this should never be passed at the federal level. And have 3 doctors sign off on it and have a judge sign off on it that this person really is terminally ill. Okay,
so this says Iceland. Why Down syndrome in Iceland has almost disappeared. Let's see if this is. I just want to look real quick and see if this is why. Go away. Yeah. Okay. This. Okay. So it's Iceland, and let me show you guys just real quick. I know it's a little off topic. Since prenatal screening tests, the vast majority of women, close to 100%, who received a positive test for Down syndrome, terminated their pregnancy. Why? Because they have to pay for it. Once they determine, and by the way, these tests are notoriously inaccurate. They're not like, blood tests or these genetic tests nowadays. These are this other test that they even said is notorious. Yeah, sometimes after the parents received inaccurate test results. Here. Boop. Flip us to the bottom so you guys can, oops. There you go. After the parents received inaccurate test results. Yeah. Here in the U.S., about 6,000 babies with Down are born each year. So, yeah, this whole Iceland thing, and that ties in because once they start deciding, and they have to, under a socialized medicine system, they have to prioritize because the government runs everything. With insurance companies and privatized healthcare, they decide, right, at least pre-Obamacare, like this pre-existing condition, we don't cover this because it costs too much. Now, of course, they're forced to cover everything, and we pay for that.
And that's why
exponentially. That's why insurance is so damned expensive. Exactly. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure, and it turns out it's Iceland. But I know they have the same system in other European countries. So, okay, we're done with that. Okay. So I'm sure you guys will be shocked and horrified and utterly surprised to learn that the United States government is continuing to illegally surveil American citizens.
To those connected to the January 6th.
Yeah. So the whole J6 thing, right? Feds conducted broad and unjustified surveillance of Americans' private financial data, the House Judiciary Committee determined. Feds use terms like MAGA, Trump, Biden, Kamala, as well as some religious terms to search private transactions.
Like the Bible.
Yeah, like the Bible. Thank you. It gets into it, but the really, really short version is these people used their, in my opinion, vastly too powerful powers to go and dig through Americans' records to using search terms so they could see if you bought stuff that they determined was potentially domestic terrorist material. Here's the problem. We're not talking about C4. And just because you buy C4 doesn't mean you want to be a terrorist. I like blowing stuff up just as much as the next person. But we're not talking about stuff like that. We're talking about Bibles. We're talking about search terms like MAGA or Trump or Kamala or whatever. Yeah, it's insane. You can't make this stuff up anymore, guys. Like, it's ridiculous. The report states that the financial surveillance was not predicated on any specific evidence of particularized criminal conduct. And even worse, it keyed on terms and specific transactions that concerned core political and religious expression protected by the Constitution. They're literally breaking the founding laws of this country. It's mind-blowing how they're allowed to get away with this over and over and over. This isn't new. Here we go. This here shows us, ask banks to search and filter customer transactions by using terms like MAGA and Trump, and warn that purchases of religious texts could indicate extremism. Ladies and gentlemen, if you ordered a new international version of the Holy Bible, you too might be a domestic terrorist. What? Fox News Digital also first reported the officials suggested that banks query transactions with keywords like Dick's Sporting Goods, Cabela's, Bass Pro Shops, and more.
The NSA really needs to be reformed.
The NSA needs to go away. In my opinion, every single one of these agencies is unconstitutional, which I might add, the Supreme Court just barely said the same thing. They didn't quite step over the line, but they certainly hurried up to it and gave the people on the other side the finger.
I would like the NSA to be dismantled and stuff, but I'm being realistic. Probably the best we could get is being reformed.
Right. I mean, here's the thing. Ultimately, our desires might be over here, but looking at it realistically, I think the FBI at minimum needs to be gutted and reworked. I think the CIA needs to be disbanded, completely gone. And you know what's interesting is they found that all of these various agencies in some way, shape, or form are unnecessary, right? FtF, for example, their only job is to persecute Americans for what's technically constitutionally protected. I mean, if you want to make the argument that all gun laws are unconstitutional, and I'm not saying, you don't have to agree with that, but I'm saying if you make that argument, then the entire basis of that agency gone. The FBI, on the other hand, has shown their politicization. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, they're choosing to go after red-blooded Americans who happen to order a Bible or maybe bought a gun or two. What? While simultaneously, we're not going to cover it today, but simultaneously ignoring pipe bombs placed around the RNC and the DNC. That's quite a story, guys. I'm gonna do a video on that because they are just blatantly ignoring that, because I truly believe that was a setup. That was all part of the J6 myth. They were planning on doing some stuff and it didn't work out for whatever reason. And I find it interesting because Kamala Harris, who was at the DNC at the time, there's no mention of that, and she doesn't bring that up.
Yeah.
Why? Like, dude, there's just so many really sketchy things. They went after, I think it was Revolver News who first broke the story on that, and how they had video of
Rebel News.
It might be Rebel News, yeah. But they have video of the guy like doing the pipe bomb, and then someone else finding it who happened to be an undercover officer, and everyone is extremely very calm. I mean, very, very calm. They don't even get to it right away. They allow a group of school children to walk right by it. It's like, you cannot watch this with a completely open mind and not go, something ain't right here.
The conventions in the summer are going to be interesting.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
it's
yeah.
in Chicago.
Chicago. I'd like to point out, by the way, that South side of Chicago has said they plan on causing problems.
Oh.
Yes. They said, if you guys, who was it? Oh my God, I can't think of the name. But there was a major in the 60s. There was
talking about the Weather Underground.
Yeah, the DNC though, they were having the RNC. There was a particular politician that they decided they did not want elected, and there was a whole bunch of stuff that happened around then. Yeah, we should talk about that next week because it's a lot. Anyway, Fox News Digital also first reported that additional search terms included white power, Camp Auschwitz, Antifa. Oh, okay. I need you to move your car. You're right behind her. My wife has to go pick up my son, and unfortunately, he parked right behind her, so he'll be right back. Additional search terms included white power, Camp Auschwitz, Antifa, Proud Bee, storm the Capitol, Groyper Army, Three Pers, Boogaloo, Civil War, Last Sons, Kill, Shoot, Gun, Death, blah, blah, blah. Biden, Kamala, Pelosi, Schumer, and Pence. Okay? Despite these transactions having no criminal nexus, FinCEN seems to have adopted a characterization of these Americans as potential threat actors and subject to surveillance, the report states. A source familiar with the documents held by the House Judiciary Committee told Fox that while January 6, 2021 was the impetus for the queries and searches, he documents the committee has obtained, the documents the committee has obtained do not reveal any specific timeframes or limitations for banks searching customer transactions with the terms. The source said the federal government used the information for investigations beyond January 6th. In other words, they said, well, the reason we're doing this is because of J6 2021. But it wasn't limited to that. They went very, very beyond that. It is unclear if the terms are still being used by banks to search private transactions. Meanwhile, the report revealed that FinCEN, in a January 16, 2021 email, shared with financial institutions a hyperlink to, quote, relevant terms from the Anti-Defamation League website. Oh, my God. The report refers to the ADL as a, quote, notorious anti-conservative activist group.
Definitely.
I think that is a 100% accurate term. 100% accurate. Notorious, yes, they are. Anti-conservative, most definitely.
They are.
Activist group. Yes, they are activists in every sense of the word. And, you know, the ADL is probably the single most responsible entity for the ridiculous rumor and the trolling that went on in the so-called white power OK symbol thing.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that? The ADL was who pushed that and said, oh, this is the whole thing was a joke. It was a trolling thing started on, I think, 4chan or 8chan.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So yeah, we are seeing. Let's see. Is there anything else in here? By the way, yeah. The report states the hate symbols the ADL recommended monitoring included the Celtic cross, the OK hand gesture, Pepe the Frog, and White Lives Matter as hate symbols. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. If you've ever said, okay, you're a racist. No, get out of here with that BS. That is so stupid. It's a symbol. It means okay. That's what it means. That's all it means.
Tired of political correctness.
Dude, PC stuff is like ridiculous. It's painful to watch some of this stuff and be like, what? Dude. Anyway, so yeah, they're looking into that. Hopefully something comes of it. I mean, I'm not going to hold my breath at this point. The entire U.S. government is corrupt to its core. Let's get to the fun stuff, okay? Because this is hilarious. Hilarious.
We were talking about this earlier.
Yeah, we were talking about this. Okay, so I'm gonna set the stage for you, right? Don Lemon, he got fired from CNN, right? They let him go.
Said about Nikki Haley.
What are you
saying? That she's old and nobody wants to watch her become president.
Oh, okay.
But I think that's why.
You think that's why they let him go? Okay. Ultimately, he was fired from CNN. He decided that he was going to jump on the bandwagon because let's face it, dude, X is up and coming. It's the now thing, especially for people who want to do interview shows, stuff like that. Tucker Carlson showed it. His ratings, he's getting more ratings than mainstream media outlets combined.
A lot of people for that.
Oh my God. Million? Yeah, like it was multi-million people. Oh, never mind. Sean's camera froze for just a second. I was like, oh no, but it's fixed. Okay, so yeah, he is getting just tons of views. Well, Chris Cuomo, he jumped on it as well, and he did his own thing. He started his own show. Don Lemon decided, you know what, maybe this is a good idea. And he decided he was going to start a show. Now, Don Lemon has come out and said, oh, well, it didn't work out because Elon's a jerk. And I'm going to show you the interview. I asked him one question and he just walked off and There's some additional information there. And let me share it with you because it's hilarious. According to sources, Don Lemon demanded a Tesla Cybertruck, a $5 million advance, equity in X. There's more. I'm going to get to the fun stuff because it's just what the ex-CNN actor sent over an astronomical wish list to Elon Musk during contract talks to host a show on the billionaire, blah, 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 blah. A free Tesla Cybertruck, a $5 million upfront payment on top of an $8 million salary, an equity stake in the multi-billion-dollar company, X, and the right to approve any changes in X policy as it relates to news content. What the fuck, dude? Are you serious? According to a document reviewed by the Post, a document. It's not just somebody saying, Lemon, who was expected to air an interview with Musk for the next week's debut episode on X, had also demanded a private jet flight to Las Vegas, a suite for him and his fiance, and that the company pay for their day drinking and massages. A source with knowledge of the situation.
Elon was probably like, who do you think you are?
Right.
Really?
Musk agreed to do the interview with Lemon despite the fact that he was aware of some of Lemon's outlandish demands, sources told the Post. The proposal reviewed by the Post was sent from Lemon's agents at United Talent Agency to X's leadership in December. The partnership was announced in January, but an X spokesperson told the Post that the company, quote, did not have a final or signed agreement with Don Lemon or the Don Lemon Show before Musk sat down for the explosive interview last week. The vice chairman at the company said, UTA, which is his United Talent Agency, UTA, that's Lemon's people, said, quote, this is absolute, complete, utter nonsense without an iota of truth to it. Lemon was fired hours after the one-on-one, I got the hiccups, after the one-on-one sit down with Musk, calling the anchor, quote, dull and underwhelming. Hold on. The 1.5 hour grilling included testy exchanges about Musk's political leanings, his past drug use, and the site's content moderation policy. It is scheduled to run on YouTube next week.
I want to see that.
Lemon claimed on Wednesday that he was jettisoned by X because Musk reneged on his, quote, free speech pledge. No, dude, it's because you want a ton of ridiculous stuff. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so according to this, in an interview with veteran tech journalists talking about CNN, by the way, Swish Lemon claimed they held discussions over the summer in which the company threatened to fire him if he did not attend the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. CES, which was held earlier this year between January 7th and 10th, is one of the most highly anticipated events on the tech calendar, as companies, including X, flock to the show in order to schmooze advertisers. Oh, no, he's talking about X. It just says, Lemon's discussions with the company began shortly after he was fired by CNN last April after a series of high-profile incidents, according to sources with knowledge. Yeah, you called it. X is saying he's lying. Yeah. Oh, and he wanted to be flown to the convention with his longtime fiance on a private jet and be put up in a private suite, as well as for X to foot the bill for alcoholic beverages and massages that he and his fiance ordered during their stay at the Vdara, the MGM-run resort on the Vegas Strip, according to people familiar with the matter.
I wonder if he did that on purpose, because he knew that Elon wouldn't really do it, so that he could get bad publicity for Musk.
Oh,
that's the only thing that makes sense.
But the talks stalled over Lemon's extensive demands, which included executive assistants, as well as a marketing budget that ranged from $10 to $15 million.
He can't be this dumb.
A spokesperson for Lemon told the Post, there is nothing in your list of demands that you claim Don made of X that is true. Literally nothing. So we have an alleged document that was reviewed by the Post, who, the Post might be right-leaning, as they claim, but I haven't seen the New York Post put out verifiably false anything. They're the only ones who went with the laptop story.
They did.
After verifying it. They did their due diligence on that. So I tend to believe them. I tend to put it this way. I believe them over Don Lemon's lying ass. Like, him and his people have
very little credibility.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. I mean, bruh, what? Can you imagine the balls, the audacity of a guy who got fired by CNN going to Elon Musk and going, not only do you need to pay me, you need to give me a $5 million advance, an $8 million salary, and pay for my massages, pay for my drinks, fly me on a private jet out to Vegas, put me up in a suite, and then you're going to give me parts of a piece of your company and run all your ideas by me. What, bruh? No.
You should be happy that Musk gave him a chance,
right? Here's the thing, like, it mystifies me how these people can think they're that important.
I'm wondering if he did that intentionally.
I think it's completely possible.
To make Musk look bad.
Just to try to spin some sort of narrative that makes it seem like Elon Musk isn't free speech. I think that's completely possible. Yeah. So Anything else you want to say about
I
that?
just hope he's not that dumb. But anyway,
I hope he's not that dumb either, but I don't know, man. It would not surprise me. No matter which way it goes. I could see it going either way. I could see it being an intentional, you know what? I'm going to ask for ridiculous stuff so that Elon will definitely say no, and then I can blame it on he's not really as free speech as he says, and da-da-da-da-da. I can easily see that. I can also see this dumb SOB thinking he deserves that.
That he's entitled to
it. Yeah. That he's entitled to it. Exactly. All right, so I got a wild one for you guys, okay? Now, Shawn, who was very up on the news, was surprised when I sent this to him because he hadn't seen it. So I'm betting that you guys haven't seen it either. But maybe you have. We'll see. All right, so.
It didn't surprise me, but yeah, I didn't see it.
Yeah. No, it didn't surprise me either. It surprised you in that you hadn't seen it yet, but the topic was unsurprising.
Yeah, because I know that there's people on the left who would like to see it.
You ready? You ready, ladies and gentlemen? Here we go. Boom. Maryland city equity official says she wants U.S. to burn to the ground. Quote, my ideology can rise from the ashes. The equity officer tasked with eliminating racism in College Park called to, quote, burn it all down, but also says, I don't want to work. Okay. All right. So, yeah. Oh, come on, man.
I hate when Fox does.
Yeah.
But this is
that's the story, though. Like,
this doesn't surprise. This is why I'm not for the constitutional convention that some on the right want to do. Is because it could be easily taken over. Do you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. I mean,
it could be easily taken over by somebody on the left.
Yeah, you're talking about like convention of states type deal, right? Yeah, and you know what? A lot of people have brought that up, and it is something that we definitely need to pay attention to, because anytime you have a group of any kind that is looking to make major changes, and this would allegedly, the only thing they care about is term limits. That's it. That's all we're going to do. We're just going to do term limits, right? I used to be a big fan of convention of states. I looked into it. I was like, oh yeah, man. Yeah, we need this. But the more you look into it, and I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but the fact that it could happen is concerning. And that is, once you have the infrastructure in place for something like this to happen, it is very easy for an alternate ideology to filter through it.
And everything would be on the line at a convention. So the first thing that Democrats, or I should say people on the left, would try to get rid of is the Second Amendment.
Yeah. And given if they're able to do what they want to do, which is get enough people together, we're talking about from not every state, but 30, what do they need? 36? I think it's the number 36 sticks in my mind. I think it's somewhere around there. But in order to amend the Constitution, you need 3/4 of the states, right? Which comes down to around 36, I believe. At that point, you can do anything. You have enough states in attendance that you can get rid of the Second Amendment. You can get rid of the First Amendment. You could gut it and put amendments in there that do completely the opposite of what we want. So it's extremely dangerous, potentially extremely dangerous. And like I said, I know they say, oh, we just want term limits. But once that's in progress, once it's happening,
you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you don't know what somebody could bring up, what someone could suggest, what someone could bring to vote. All this stuff could potentially be very, very bad. So
when you're dealing with the left, you got to be careful.
Yeah, and like there are these people just like this, progressives, who are perfectly okay with everyone else dying. They're okay with that. They don't care about you. No matter how much they profess equality and this and that, they do not care about you. Especially if you're not one of their sort I'm looking for patronizing targets, right? If you're not someone that they're intending to cater to, they really don't care about you. But yeah, the south side of Chicago is about to lose their mind over the left and Democrats and the convention that's coming, all that. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really, really interesting.
And they could have picked anywhere to have the convention, and they picked Chicago.
Yeah, which, oddly enough, they're having a serious problem in Chicago right now with illegal immigrants being pulled in, and they're taking over community resources.
Yeah, there's Democrats that are really mad about it.
Oh, yeah.
There's a couple Democrats that come on Fox News all the time talking about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've had enough. They're up to here.
They won't probably vote Republican, but they are talking about not voting Democrat.
Right. And you know what? It's a process, man. And if they even decide he's not getting my vote, I can't vote Trump. I get it, man. That's one less vote he has. Uh-huh. Even if that vote doesn't switch to DJT, it's still a vote that doesn't go to the resident in chief. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen him lately, like his gaffes. It's getting worse. Like,
he thought he was running for the House the other day.
Yeah. If you guys send me to Congress, what are you talking about, my guy? Yeah. Okay. So here is, I guess, irony.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's got some irony to it, but it's delicious, right? It really is. I love it, right? So there's a guy. His name is Representative Jeff Jackson. Okay. He was TikTok's favorite congressman. Now he's being called a hypocrite. Why? Zoomers are turning on the TikTok famous congressman who voted to ban the app. Yes, you heard that right. Until relatively recently, Rep. Jeff Jackson, a freshman Democratic congressman from North Carolina, had more than 2.5 million followers on TikTok. Jackson's follower count dropped by over 100,000 virtually overnight, as did his esteem among some of TikTok's young users after he voted to ban the app. The bill passed with 352 votes, but to the legions of TikTokers who called their representatives to urge them not to ban the app, Jackson's vote feels like a unique betrayal. On Wednesday, Jackson posted a video, listen to this, on X, laying out the rationale for his vote. Quote, "I don't think TikTok is going to be banned," he began. "If the bill passes in the Senate," Jackson said in the video, he thinks the likeliest scenario is that, quote, "TikTok will be sold for billions of dollars and will continue to operate." His opposition, he continued, is not with TikTok itself, but with China's national security laws and the sway the Chinese government has over TikTok's algorithms and potentially over American politics. Quote, "We got a big example of how that power could be used last week, and it wasn't subtle," Jackson said, referring to the pop-up notification TikTok served users that warned Congress is, quote, "planning a total ban of TikTok." I don't see a problem with that.
I actually agree with that. That's the reason why I don't like TikTok, is because of the Chinese, the CCP having control over it.
But I'm talking about the pop-up. I don't have a problem. I mean, literally, they're trying to ban this app. Why wouldn't the app notify users?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm perfectly okay with, but I'll get to my thoughts about TikTok. Hold on.
I misunderstood.
No, it's okay. Jackson also acknowledged TikTok users' concern that Congress is attempting to pass legislation that could potentially ban an app they don't even understand. Quote, "I know a lot of you have seen some members of Congress be deeply uninformed about this because they don't use TikTok and they don't care," he said. "But I do use it, and I think we can solve this problem and keep marching on."
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
He called them stupid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, it gets better, dude. This guy.
I never heard of him before this.
I had neither. My wife, the lovely Liz, was laughing about this yesterday. She's like, oh my God, this guy, you're not going to believe this. And she informed me, and I'm like, okay, you got to send that to me because I got to tell people this is insane. TikTok users, meanwhile, weren't happy with Jackson's explanation. The comments section of his most recent video, posted on Monday, is full of people calling him a hypocrite. Some of the comments suggest that Jackson originally cross-posted his post-vote explanation video on TikTok and then deleted it after a wave of backlash. Yes, allegedly, he posted it on X and TikTok, deleted it on TikTok, but left it up on X.
Wow.
Without TikTok, you're nothing, at Jeff Jackson, said one irate viewer. Sellout, said another. Jackson's office did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Jackson grew his following on TikTok by posting explainers on everything from the Russia-Ukraine war to the Silicon Valley bank collapse. And I'm going to say that, I'm going to pause for just a moment because I want people to understand something. Yes, there are stupid dance videos on TikTok. There are people who act like NPCs on TikTok. There are some really, really stupid things on TikTok. But you know what else is on TikTok? People explaining what's going on with our government. People explaining what's really happening in the White House. People explaining what's really happening in East Palestine, Ohio. TikTok had far more coverage of the East Palestine derailment than any other social media platform. They do not want you informed. They do not. The powers that be, the ruling class, Congress, Senate, they do not want you and I to communicate unless it's through their approved means. I'm here to tell you, like, look at YouTube, look at Facebook. You talk about the wrong thing, zoop, you're gone. They want that power. They want to be able to dictate what you and I are allowed to communicate about. I say no, but that's just me. Go ahead. Yeah, cut in real quick.
All right. What the bill really does, though, I want to be
there. You go. Yep.
Is makes the parent company of the TikTok, which is owned by the CCP, sell it within 6 months. And
okay.
The former Treasury Secretary under Trump.
Yep. Mnuchin
wants to buy it. He's trying to get investors. So if he buys it, I will probably go on TikTok. I think. So
I won't.
You won't?
Nope. Nope. And I'm going to tell you why. It's two reasons. Number one, okay, the guy who actually owns it isn't even from China. He's from Singapore.
Oh, really?
Yep. That's number one. This whole China thing, is there something to it? Probably. But you have been lied to. All of you have been lied to about the real stuff here. This bill also, most importantly, in my opinion, makes it to where if they decide through an arbitrary set of guidelines that any given app is a national security threat, they can do the exact same thing. It doesn't matter who controls it, who owns it. If they decide X is a national security threat, they can do the same damn thing. Wow. It's nuts, dude. It's absolutely nuts. We're gonna get into it a little more, but
yeah, I didn't know that, the Singapore thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going to pass the Senate. Schumer doesn't sound like he's going to even put it up for a vote.
It is not up to the United States government to decide how anyone can communicate. Now, if you want to make it to where TikTok is not allowed on government devices, go for it. Some states have already done that.
Michigan, but the governor still uses it.
Right, Rich, that's the thing, right? If you're going, it's like Iran, I think, right? Where they said, you can't use Twitter, but we can.
Yeah, I think
the government
right.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Iran,
yes, the Ayatollah.
Ayatollah, yeah.
Twitter.
Yep. He's on Twitter, and he says some pretty wild stuff, but none of the people can use it, right? It's the exact same BS because these people, the very people who are voting to ban it, have millions of followers. They are super freaking popular on it.
That's hypocrisy.
It is. Yeah. Okay. In interviews with Roll Call and the Washington Post, he's touted TikTok as a way of educating constituents about the ins and outs of the legislative process. The app, he said, is good for transparency. Since the White House has forbidden federal employees, including members of Congress, from having TikTok on their government-issued phones, Jackson has the app installed on a separate personal device. Last April, Jackson told the Washington Post he'd vote for legislation banning TikTok, quote, as a last resort, though he'd prefer that ByteDance sell the app so he and his constituents can keep using it. For now, Jackson can still post, although his posts are being brigaded with comments like, I don't know, some kind of symbol. What is this?
I don't even know what that
I don't know what that is. It looks like a red dot with like a, is it like a tomato? I think maybe it's tomato, like they're throwing tomatoes at him.
Okay.
Yeah. And despite his recent drop in followers, he remains the most followed member of Congress on TikTok, at least for now, right? So I'm going to tell you why I don't. Here's the thing, right? Steve Mnuchin. I'm not going to, if he gets involved in buying it, I want no part of it. Because I'm going to tell you, there's two reasons why TikTok has come under fire. One does involve the federal, the Chinese government in some way, shape, or form. And one thing that I find interesting is during the hearings on TikTok, right? One of the things they proved was that the terms of service for TikTok are no different than the terms of service for Instagram, Facebook, X, any of these other social media companies, right? All of these social media companies have access to tons of data on our phones. That's how they work. That's why they're free. Because you're the product. They're selling your data, right? All of this data is available to the federal government. The federal government doesn't like it when people other than them have access.
That's a good point.
Number two, the most searched videos on TikTok regarding the Israel-Gaza situation, right? We're not pro-Israel. And it's a vast chasm of difference. Like, many times more the Free Palestine crowd versus the Israel is right crowd, right? We're talking like 1 million views of that of the Israel stuff and tens, if not hundreds of millions of views on the other side.
Yeah.
Now, isn't it convenient that Steve Mnuchin is working to buy TikTok? Do you know his heritage?
Is he Jewish?
He is. Yeah, he is. And I'll say this. I'm not anti-Semitic. I don't care what your race, religion, I don't care. But there are groups of people who have vastly outsized influence on certain areas of our lives, regardless of who you are, right? When you represent a small portion of the population and you have vastly oversized influence, I have a problem with that. So if you're looking to get rid of TikTok because they can't control the narrative on it, who better to pass it to than the very people who want to control the narrative?
I don't think it's going to pass the Senate.
It shouldn't even get this far. That's my point. Yeah. Hopefully it doesn't, right? Because is there some stupid stuff on TikTok? God, yes. Yes, there is. The whole NPC thing. Have you seen? Do you know what I'm talking about when I say the NPC? You got to see this. This is the kind of stuff that they point to when they say TikTok is dumbing us down. Okay.
I've heard that.
Yeah. And again, there are some very, very stupid things on it, but hold on. Now, here's the thing. It only lasted for a very short time, but let me show you what I'm talking about here. People are pretending to be NPCs on TikTok, and it's not just weird, it's also lucrative, right? POV, you find out you can make an extra $2,000 to $4,000 a month by acting like an NPC. This one here on the left, this girl, dude, I'm looking to see. Okay, this isn't it. This isn't it. I want you to see the actual. I think this is the one.
Hee-haw, yes, you gotta play like a cowgirl. You ready, Tom? Yes, you gotta play the queen. Slay, huh? Gang, fire, gang.
I can't watch it for too long because it makes me irrationally angry. But that's the kind of stuff she does. She just does. They call it NPC because think of like an RPG, right? Like a video game where you come across these NPCs and they say the same thing over and over. Every time you click them, they say the same thing.
Yeah.
That's what she's doing. And let me see if I can get.
Yeah, gang, bruh. Ooh, gang. Oh, special, gang. Ooh, ice cream, somebody, yes, gang. Yes, let's dance like that in the days. Ooh.
I can.
Yeah, that when they talk about TikTok is dumbing us down, that is what they're referring to. And I don't disagree because, oh my God, right?
I couldn't watch that much.
No, like that's what I'm saying. I had to stop it because, like I said, it makes me irrationally angry. Like I feel the rage building and I have to nope, okay. However, and apparently people pay lots of money to these people to act like this. And because they don't just get viewers, they get I don't know, I guess you could tip people. I don't know how it works. I'm not on TikTok. But there's ways to make money doing it. That's the short version, right? Number one, if there wasn't a demand, people couldn't make money doing it. So there are weirdos that like to watch this stuff. To each their own, man. You do you. However, your feed is what you watch. So for example, there was a congressman or a senator who had talked about the only thing he sees when he goes on TikTok are young girls, right? And people were like, can we point out that you only see what you search?
Yeah.
And once the algorithm learns what you like to watch, it's going to give you more of that. So we find it extremely suspicious that that's what you're seeing. And we're talking underage girls.
Wow.
Yeah. TikTok itself is just an app. It's just an app. A better way to tackle this, in my opinion, would be to maybe force them to change their terms of service, change the data that it has access to. I mean, there are tons of options here. Instead, the U.S. government is going right to the nuclear option, which is sell your company or we're banning you. I'm sorry, what? This was supposed to be the home of free enterprise. This is supposed to be the home of capitalism. Dude, this is beyond unconstitutional, in my opinion. And I know the Chinese government is terrifying, right? It's so scary. They're stealing all our data. So are Facebook. Dude, Facebook is one of the worst violators out there. Mark Zuckerberg apologized to people because his app didn't protect them. But they're not going after him. And that's the thing. None of these idiots ever see any repercussions for their actions. Only Because my wife shows me, I'm going to tell you, she likes TikTok, but she doesn't watch this kind of weird shit. She watches information videos where they tell you, hey, here's what's going on in East Palestine because our news media refuses to cover it. Here's what's happening with the migrant invasion. I'm here on the border. Let me show you. That's the kind of stuff she watches. They don't want you to have access to that. I firmly believe that. That's what this is about. This is not about China getting your list of contacts or seeing who you were sexting last night. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with they do not want you awake. They do not want people to have access to unfiltered information. Why do you think they went after Elon so hard?
Well, yeah.
And I'm going to say this. X is not perfect. It is not perfect. There are some areas that I strongly disagree with the policies that are in place. It is not perfect, but it's the closest we have to free speech at this point as far as an app that people actually use. That, X, and TikTok. That's it. Can you post anything real on Facebook that isn't from an approved source?
No.
Right. And even go ahead.
I've even done it from legitimate website, mainstream sources,
Mhm.
like the Daily Mail and
Yeah.
New York Post,
Mm-hmm.
and they put like a restriction on there.
Yeah.
I was like, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I posted in an announcement video where I had, it doesn't matter what it was about. It was about my show and what I was changing, right? I put a video clip of Biden during his visit to Texas where he talked about the fires and how you'd see all these houses burn unless they had the right roof on it. That's it. I didn't give any comment. I didn't say anything. I didn't make any claims about blue or any of that. All I did was put that video, and they put a false information thing on my post saying that, oh, he didn't claim that blue roofs weren't. I never said that. I didn't say anything about that. I literally just gave like 5 seconds of video, him saying what he said. But of course, that's not accurate, ladies and gentlemen. Don't believe your lying eyes, believe the Facebook censors. No. And it's always the same one, lead stories. Yeah, lead stories, because they are the ones that got paid to do that. They're actually paying people to call you a liar. Gotta love it.
Yeah.
That's what I mean, though. They want control. They insist on control. They must have it, because if they don't, the American people and people around the world, but predominantly American people, because America is the last bastion. If America completely falls, the rest of the world is doomed. They know it. We know it. And there are plenty of people on social media that are asking Americans, what WTF? Why have you guys not stood up and taken your country back? You guys are the only ones that can do it. You have the arms, you have the ammo, you have the stuff.
Stand up.
Stand up. Exactly. Stand up and do something about it. And January 6th was a message to those who would do something about it. It was a very, very clear public demonstration of do not question us.
It was a setup.
Oh, 100% it was a setup. 100%. It's been proven. Now, all the so-called conspiracy theories about it that were, it was feds, it was this, it was that, it was Antifa, it was da-da-da-da-da, right? It's been proven. And we're not talking about a reasonable doubt. We're talking beyond a shadow of a doubt. Has been proven by Congress that the entire thing was set up from the beginning.
They let people into the building.
Yeah, they moved aside, opened the doors for him. That shaman guy, which I'm not even going to talk about him. But he did an interview with Tucker Carlson, right?
Okay.
I have not watched it, but what I did see is some coverage of it that said this guy was called every name in the book and was put out there as a dangerous domestic terrorist that was doing various things in the Capitol, right? He was escorted around the building by Capitol Police for a long time. I find that very, very suspicious.
That is. Had to be FBI, CIA people
involved. They have identified at least, this is what I read, at least 200 that were working for one agency or another as an informant or an outright agent. In the crowd.
They were patriots who were set up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Here's the thing, right? I get it, man. You're out there, you're at the Capitol, you're seeing this stuff happening. You're like, this is BS, man. This should never have happened this way. And then someone goes, hey, we're going to walk through the Capitol building. It's our building. Let's walk through it. And then you have police officers opening the door for you. Well, yeah, okay. And they prove. So one of the big things that they got all these people for, because not a single person was arrested or charged with insurrection, I might add. Not one. One of the things they found is that the barricades that they had set up to keep people out, right, had been removed. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yeah. Before the demonstration started, right, and all these people surged around the Capitol, at some point, all the barricades had been gone. So there was no clearly marked area that was non-passable. It would be reasonable for any person that was there to think barricades over there can't go over there, but this area is open.
Another setup.
Absolutely.
And the sad thing is, I know people who voted for Trump in 2016, 2020, who aren't going to vote for him in 2024 because of January 6th.
Yeah, because of that whole thing.
I'm trying to tell them what really happened.
Right.
But they're not listening.
They don't want to hear it.
So I think the election's going to be very close in November.
No, I don't. I think it's going to be a landslide.
We'll see.
I was a lot less confident about 2020. I was a lot less confident, and I still think I think 2020 was a landslide. I really do, and not for Biden. But I was a lot less confident about 2020 because of all the media manipulation and all the stuff that goes on there, right? I'm a lot more confident about 2024 because you are hearing from people on the ground, regular people who see through the BS.
What concerns me is the people that aren't showing up who are going to vote just because of the abortion issue.
Okay.
I think it's going to be bigger than anybody thinks it's going to be.
Here's the thing, though, and this is what I want to tell all my Democrat people that watch my show, because I know you're out there. I've talked to a couple of you. The Democrat people that watch my show, that the ones that truly believe abortion is an issue that should get you to the voting booth, right? And that alone is worth voting for or against someone. I want you to be very, very clear about something. Number one, the Supreme Court has spoken. It's a state issue. It's done. Voting for a president can't change that. Now, that said, if the Democrats truly wanted to fix the abortion issue and make it federal, they could have done it time and time and time again. They could have done it many times over by now. On both sides, not just the Democrats, but Republicans too. Abortion is an issue that is meant to tug at your pocketbook and your vote counter. That's it. They're never going to do anything one way or the other about it. It's as done as it's going to get, especially here in Indiana. It's a done deal. And voting for Biden isn't going to fix abortions.
We should have like a prediction show where we think which states are going to go where.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can do that.
I want to do that.
Yeah.
Because my brother and I did that for 2020, and I was wrong only on one state.
Oh, which one?
Georgia.
Really? Okay. Interesting. I think, especially everything that's happening now with these lawsuits and Fawny and all that stuff, I think Georgia's in the bag for Trump.
I do too.
In the bag for
Go
Trump.
back, Georgia.
Yeah. I think Michigan is too.
I don't think it's in the bag, but it's reachable.
Did you see what all the Muslims
That's why it's
were
reachable.
saying? Yeah, I think it's
Because they're
beyond
not
reachable. They're not showing up. They're like,
Yeah.
we're not going to vote for Trump,
I want to say there was
but
like
we're not voting for you. There's like 20-something thousand of them.
that voted uncommitted
Yep.
in Michigan.
Yep. And those are just the guys who are willing to go pull a D ballot. We're not talking about general election numbers. That's literally primary. I think there are way more people that
I'll have to look at the map again, but I think Pennsylvania is probably going to be the state that determines who wins.
yeah,
I'll have to
that's
look at
possible. It's possible.
It's possible he could win Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Wisconsin, I'm not confident Trump's going to win Wisconsin.
The only problem that I have, I think it would be, again, in the bag for Trump, except you've got all of these illegals that are pouring in, and they are desperately trying to get them voting.
True.
They are desperately trying. In some places, it's a done deal. In other, like New York, they're allowed to vote, except the New York Supreme Court recently ruled that that's unconstitutional. Thank God. But it's happening all over, man. They're not, and they announce it on live TV. They're like, yeah, that's the goal, is to get all millions and millions of these illegals citizenship and get them to the voting box.
And then there's going to be even more coming with the chaos that's happening in Haiti.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah. They're eating people down there, man. Yeah. So for those of you that may not be aware, Haiti's experiencing massive unrest. The prime minister had to flee the country.
Yeah.
They want him to step down. He's like, I can't step down. Did he eventually? Okay. Because initially he was like, I can't until I get back to the country because it won't be official.
They're going to try,
But
instead of putting a new prime minister in,
Mhm.
they're going to do some sort of council of elders or something. I heard.
okay.
So yeah, Haiti's an option thing of people probably coming in.
Yeah, we're gonna have. So one of the things, and I find this very interesting. It was. I don't think it was CNN, but I think it was like NBC or AB. One of the mainstream media that normally, leans left. Let's put it that way, right? So basically anything that's not Fox. But they're very. Here's the way they reported it, right? And I found this very interesting. They said, although right now there is no evidence that we have a surge of Haitian migrants, there is every reason to believe that it could happen. I found that very, very interesting, the exact way they worded that.
Fox worded it almost exactly.
Really?
Today.
Yeah.
That's
See,
interesting.
that is interesting because they were very, very particular to say, although there is no evidence that we are currently experiencing a surge of Haitian migrants beyond, quote, normal, which the new normal is BS, I might add. All these freaking immigrants coming in we don't know who they are, where they're going. Anyway, although there's no concrete evidence, there is every reason to believe that we are going to experience a surge. That tells me we know there's going to be people. We just can't show you now.
And did you hear that they're flying people in too?
Yeah.
Talking about that. They won't
300,000.
the 30 airports across the country, but they won't announce which 30 airports.
I'd like to point something out for the viewers. So I actually dug a little into that because I was curious about the numbers and the logistics, right? If you go to look at this 300,000 people being flown in, right? There are all kinds of, quote, fact checkers that are saying it's not true. So I looked it up. I read a bunch of these fact checking stories. Here's the part they say is not true. It's not secret.
That's what they.
Yes, I kid you not. They're saying no. No. Then part of the claim is that they have to pay their own way, right? That the U.S. isn't paying for these flights, except when you get down to the actual. I'm kind of thinking about bringing up the story, but when you get down to the actual like list of the exact program, right? It does not say they have to pay their own way. The program itself never specifies that. But what they claim is that, oh, this is misinformation because it's untrue. But when you go and say, okay, what's untrue about it? It's, oh, the program's not a secret. They announced it.
They're hoping that people just read the headline.
Right. That's the way a lot of these so-called fact checkers work. Yeah. So it is happening. 300,000 people. So that, and they're being flown in because they don't want to add to the numbers at the border because they're already so freaking bad. It's horrific, dude. How many people are being ushered into this country and we don't know anything about
And
them?
the scary thing is some of them are Chinese aged military men.
Yeah. Yeah. Chinese military age, Middle Eastern military age. Single military age males are dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, especially in large numbers without any kind of indication of who they are, where they come from. And let's not forget that many of these people are on various watch lists. Yeah. And we have literal criminals that are coming across the border, and they've shown how many they've caught. It's a lot. Now, how many have they not caught?
The gotaways, yes.
The gotaways. We're talking about ridiculous numbers here. Yeah. And it's very concerning. And it's why I say, ladies and gentlemen, look, wherever you live, look at your laws, determine what you need to do in order to do so legally. But it is your right under the United States Constitution to be able to defend yourself. It is the great equalizer. And I'm not just talking about firearms. I'm talking about arms in general. Just about anything can be used as a weapon in the right hands. You guys seen John Wick? Where's my pen? It's possible, right? But realistically, a firearm is your best means of defense against attackers, especially at a certain distance. Once they get closer, generally blades are better, but that's a topic for another time. Get some training. Learn what you're doing. Learn about the device itself, because it's nothing but a tool. It's a device. It's no different than a power hammer or a reciprocating saw, a sawzall. These are all tools that can be dangerous in the wrong hands. It's the same thing. Learn, defend, protect. That's it. That's my recommendation. Get yourself armed. Learn how to use it properly. And drill. Do the drills. Those help. Draw and what's really good if you live in an apartment or something, you can get those little lasers. They're basically bullets that don't fire that have a little laser in them. Have you seen them?
I have not.
Yeah, you load it into whatever caliber your weapon is, right? And you pull it out, you hit, and when you fire, it keeps a laser, so you can see what you're shooting at. Yeah, what you're accurate. I mean, it's not 100% because obviously you're not going to have the kick when you actually fire, but you need to learn to control that anyway. So this tells you if your aim is generally on track, especially if you don't have, because let's face it, man, ammo's expensive right now. Oh my God, it's expensive and hard to get certain kinds. Ever since they banned Russian ammo, it's really hard to get certain rounds.
That's by design.
Nailed it. Yeah, exactly.
They don't want us to have ammo.
Right, of course not. Because then, anyway, I was going to get started on the whole, but the government's got F-16s, and all. I'm going to tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. You may or may not have the same belief system that I do when it comes to fighting against the government, or if the government really wanted to take you out kind of thing, right? But if you look at Vietnam, if you look at Afghanistan, if you look at various places, people with a will, it doesn't matter how much technological advancement or how many warplanes they have. You can't hold ground with a bomber. You can't mobilize anything with an F-16. You need boots on the ground. And boots on the ground, you got to deal with the locals, man. You got to deal with the locals. And if those locals don't want you there, they know the place much better than you do.
Very true.
Much better. If you look at, where was it? I want to say Virginia, West Virginia, over in that area, right? The mountains over there, the Appalachians.
Okay.
They were planning on banning guns of some kind, right? There was a gun ban coming down. And the locals said, if you pass this and if you try to enforce it, we're talking a huge body count because we know the land. We have our stuff set up. They described exactly how they would ambush like squad cars or SWAT teams or, you know what I mean? All of that stuff. It was grisly and it was very, very accurate. And they were like, now F around and find out.
How long ago was that? I didn't even hear about
This was, I want to say around 2020, I think.
I missed that.
I think, let me see, Virginia. Well, they're trying to get in 2024, but this was before that. This was several years ago, and they weren't. Let me see here. No, you don't get to the line anymore. Let's see here. I'm not positive it was Virginia, but I think it was Virginia. Let's try 2020 because I think it was. Yeah. Okay. So no, they're still trying, by the way. But this was in. Yeah, they're still trying. Okay, so yeah, policies passed in 2020 included universal background checks, reporting requirements for lost or stolen firearms, a limit of one handgun per person. Yeah, hold on. A limit of one handgun purchase per month for most people and a red flag law. Yeah, it was a lot, but there were more, like they were planning to do way more. And they're trying again, but it was several posts by several different groups. And it was like, okay, if this passes, here's what you can expect. And they listed it all. And they went into great detail about the homemade traps and the various things that they would do. And the sheriffs went on this. You might remember this. The sheriffs went on TV and they're like, we're not enforcing this crap.
I don't remember this.
You don't? Yeah, some sheriffs was like, I will deputize every single member of my county before I enforce this garbage.
And you said they're trying it again? That's
interesting. Yeah.
When they do have a Republican governor now in Virginia, Glenn Youngkin.
Yeah, this was Virginia Democrats press major new gun control measures despite GOP opposition. Bills start to move through legislature, but face uncertain reception by Youngkin. Yeah.
They had the Clinton wannabe as governor in 2020.
Yeah.
I can't think of his name. It was Clinton friend.
So it says here on both sides of the legislature, bills to prohibit future sales of assault-style weapons and high-capacity magazines have passed out of committee on party line votes. So have bills to ban so-called ghost guns, untraceable firearms assembled at home, often with do-it-yourself kits that can be purchased online. Other bills have been introduced to impose a 5-day waiting period for all firearm purchases, require buyers to prove competency through gun safety courses, create a $500 civil penalty for leaving a handgun visible in an unattended vehicle, remove gun rights from anyone who gets 2 DUI convictions within 5 years. Ooh, I don't like that.
Wow.
Prohibit existing assault weapons from being carried in public and require state-issued permits prior to any gun purchase. Yeah, dude, they're going buck wild with it. Buck wild with it. I don't know how that's going to work out. I haven't really paid that much attention to it recently, but a few years ago, yeah, they said the population, they had a mass demonstration in Virginia over it. Do you remember that?
I don't. I don't think Fox covered this at all.
This is interesting. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Let's see here. Virginia.
Unless I just forgot about it. I don't remember.
Yeah, so this was January 21st, 2020. Pro-gun rally at Virginia Capitol draws thousands of armed protesters. Over 15,000 gun rights advocates descended upon Richmond. Yeah, hold on, let me share this with you. There you go. To protest the state's proposed gun control laws. The rally ended peacefully despite threats from armed militia and white supremacist groups. Yeah, it's ABC, so of course, anything they don't agree with is racism. But yeah, there are thousands and thousands of people. Like I said, over 15,000 people showed up. Now, I will say this, there were many, many calls, many messages going back and forth that were like, yeah, by all means, let's show up peacefully. Be aware somebody's going to try to start something in order to spin the narrative, right? But nothing happened. Everybody was cool, and everybody cleaned up after themselves too, which I'm sure you guys have noticed doesn't happen at these lefty things. The progressive events, these people are disgusting. They leave nasty stuff all over the place. Don't clean up after themselves. Generally trash the area. Yeah, it's nuts. But is there anything else you want to cover?
If you want to cover her report real quick.
Oh,
what the
yeah.
Her report is?
Yeah. Let's see here.
The guy that did a special comp, or he was the one.
Yeah,
that
the
did
special.
Biden's
Biden's 5 key takeaways from the House hearing. Let's see here.
That he didn't just weave.
This is.
Did it with Arm. If you want to get the video, Armstrong. He didn't just weave.
Here is a letter to the editor at the New York Times. Robert Hur's testimony about his report on Biden. Special counsel defends claims on Biden lapses. Let's see if we can read this. I don't want to.
Did you want to find the video that talks about Biden's confidence?
Yeah, because I can't watch.
Okay.
I can't look at that one. All right. So what do we?
Look for Representative Armstrong.
Rep Armstrong, and
His
then
name's Kelly Armstrong.
Kelly. Okay, Kelly. Hold on. Home. Kelly Armstrong in her hearing.
Yeah. And it should come up.
This is. I want to know if President Biden willfully took documents. There's what was learned during Special Counsel Hur's testimony.
Special Counsel Robert Hur about it.
This is a minute 29. Let's try this one.
Okay, let's see if this.
Yeah, let's see if this is it. We'll try this one. All right. So
yesterday, the House Judiciary Committee heard testimony from Special Counsel Robert Hur, who has been tasked with looking into the handling of classified documents by President Joe Biden. The special counsel was grilled by both Republicans and Democrats during the hours-long testimony. Democrats say the president is completely exonerated, while Republicans say the president is still guilty. Representative Kelly Armstrong serves on the Judiciary Committee and had the opportunity to ask the special counsel questions. He says he learned that President Biden had a bad day and that the Department of Justice had a bad day. Armstrong says there's no evidence in that report that doesn't support referral and that the elements of criminal behavior were met. He says President Biden had 30 years of national security history that were found in his house when the FBI searched it last year.
I think it adds to the case that it's clear that he possessed classified documents. It's clear that they involve national security. It's clear that he wasn't authorized to have it.
Wait, say that again.
He had it in 6 different locations, not just one.
So it wasn't just in his garage next to his Corvette.
No.
It was also, do you know where?
Penn Center in University of Pennsylvania.
Which the Chinese have access to. They donate huge amounts of money to the Penn Center.
I'm trying to remember where.
Like several other locations.
There was other. See if I can find
the other locations.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna finish playing this. There you go.
It's clear that he disclosed them to somebody who wasn't authorized to hear them. And in my opinion, it's clear that he knew keeping those documents was against the law, and they chose not to do it anyways.
As to whether the investigation goes from here, Armstrong says the committee is going to request the audio tapes of the president saying that he knew this was classified information. He says they'll continue to request information and see where it goes. Armstrong adds he believes that the underlying report and the conclusion in the...
This smug, I cannot stand Schiff, man. Just, I want to,
Probably be the next senator from California, too.
bruh.
reports are inconsistent with each other.
Just saying.
All right.
Let
me see. Was that what you wanted, or was it something else?
No.
Okay, let's go back.
Try to do. Does it say short take special counsel testifies?
Yeah, is that the one?
I think that's the one I'm looking for.
C-SPAN?
Yep.
Okay, there we go. All right. All righty, here we go.
I think this is the one.
Under like the senile cooperator theory, isn't it frustrating that Biden continues to go out and lie about the basic facts of the report that lay out a federal criminal violation? You made a choice. That was a political choice. It was the wrong choice.
The evidence and the president himself put his memory squarely at issue.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
My task was to determine whether the president retained or disclosed national defense information willfully. That means knowingly and with the intent to do something the law forbids. I could not make that determination without assessing the president's state of mind. For that reason, I had to consider the president's memory and overall mental state and how a jury likely would perceive his memory and mental state in a criminal trial.
I think that's really important because you know what? This actually relates to a local issue.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So one of our sitting county commissioners, right, was accused of forging a document. Okay.
I know who you're referring to.
Yeah. I'm not going to say any names because it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Here's the point. They were accused of forging a document. Now, they proved that she did put her name on the document. Or I'm sorry, put another commissioner's name on the document, right? Signed his name. Okay. That's forgery as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But here's the interesting part, right? The claim, the reason they chose not to prosecute it was because it was so bad of a forgery that it couldn't obviously have meant to be a forgery. Yeah, I kid you not. That's 100% real. LaPorte County commissioners, look it up. Anyway, LaPorte County, Indiana. Now, in that case, right, willfulness is at play. It's a crucial part of deciding whether someone can be prosecuted for something, right? Now, the law is very particular about forgery in and of itself. Willfulness is not necessary for prosecution of that. But what he's saying is, in order to determine whether he willingly disclosed classified information, I need to know whether he knows what that's about, if he's in a mental capacity to willingly share it, right? Did he mean to?
These are the types of issues the prosecutors analyze every day. And because these issues were important
Sure.
to my ultimate decision, I had to include a discussion of them in my report to the Attorney General. The evidence and the president himself put his memory squarely at issue. My team and I conducted a thorough, independent investigation. We identified evidence that the president willfully retained classified materials after the end of his vice presidency when he was a private citizen.
Why?
This evidence included an audio recorded conversation during which Mr. Biden told his ghostwriter that he had, quote, just found all the classified stuff downstairs, end quote. When Mr. Biden said this, he was a private citizen speaking to his ghostwriter in his private rental home in Virginia. We also identified other recorded conversations during which Mr. Biden read classified information aloud to his ghostwriter. We did not, however, identify evidence that rose to the level of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Because the evidence fell short of that standard, I declined to recommend criminal charges against Mr. Biden.
Your report is not an exoneration so much as a determination that the evidence as you saw it would not overcome the defenses that you had identified, plus whatever lack of evidence you perceived. So it's not an exoneration, is it?
The word exoneration does not appear anywhere in my report, and that is not my conclusion.
Webster's dictionary defines senile as exhibiting a decline of cognitive ability, such as memory associated with old age. Mr. Herr, based on your report, did you find that the president was senile?
I did not. That conclusion does not appear in my report, Congressman.
How much did President Biden get paid for his book?
Ooh.
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure if that information appears in the report.
It sure does. There's a dollar amount in there.
Nope. Okay.
Remember?
I don't. It may be $8 million.
$8 million.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Biden had 8 million reasons to break the rules.
Bro, can you imagine, seriously, can you imagine being so interesting, right? That you're going to get paid $8 million for writing some stuff down. And he didn't even write, by the way. That's what the ghostwriter's for. He goes, oh, yeah, this happened. And then the ghostwriter writes it as if Joe Biden wrote it.
And
$8 million, dude.
he's not that interesting.
He's not. He is the least interesting president or vice president I have ever seen in my life.
Trump's more entertaining.
Oh, vastly. Why do you think so many of these big mainstream media outlets are failing now? Because there's no more Trump. They can't report on Trump. That's what kept them going.
Could you imagine if Trump? One more thing before you start.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if Trump did these things?
Thank you. Well, that's the thing. He kind of did with the classified documents, except he's the freaking president. He determines what's classified.
And from what it sounds like, nobody else had access to that classified information. He had it in a room.
Exactly.
That nobody goes into.
That's really.
So it's a little bit different.
It's very different, but I'm just saying the two scenarios are close enough together. We're both talking about former president / vice president, and we're talking about classified documents. That's the only.
Should he have done it? Probably not. But the rules for presidents to have classified information is kind of
different. It's it's not clearly defined because it is very clear that presidents determine what's classified or not. They can easily declassify something in an instant. That's the president is. That's who everybody goes to say, can we declassify this? So yeah.
Took classified information and shared it with the guy who was writing the book. That's why he did. He knew the rules, but he broke them for $8 million in a book advance.
You used your report to trash and smear President Biden because he said in response to questions over a 5-hour interview that he didn't recall how he got the documents. And you knew that would play into the Republicans' narrative that the president is unfit for office because he's senile. And the American people saw during the State of the Union address that was not true. But yet that's what you tried to offer to them. And that's why they are having you here today, so that they can expand upon that narrative. And you knew that that's what was going to happen, didn't you?
Congressman, I reject the suggestion
Let me-
that you have just made.
well,
That is
well,
not what happened.
let me move on.
Partisan
then.
politics
Sir,
played
you
no
are a
part
member.
whatsoever in
You
my
are
work
you are
My
a
work
member of the
was
Federalist
independent.
Society, are you not?
and
Oh,
fair.
dear.
Are you a member of the Federalist Society?
I am not a member of the Federal Society.
But you are a Republican, though, aren't you?
I am a registered Republican.
Yes, sir. And you're doing everything you can do to get President Trump
Somebody's
reelected so that you can get appointed as a federal judge or perhaps to another position in the Department of Justice. Isn't that correct?
Congressman, I have no such aspirations, I can assure you, and I can tell you that partisan politics had no place whatsoever in my work. It had no place in the investigative steps that I took. It had no place in the decision that I made, and it had no place in a single word of my report.
You find in your report that the elements of a federal criminal violation are met, but then you apply this senile cooperator theory that because Joe Biden cooperated and the elevator didn't go to the top floor, you don't think you get a conviction. And I actually think you get to the right answer in that. I don't think Biden should have been charged. Don't think Trump should have been charged. But under like the senile cooperator theory, isn't it frustrating that Biden continues to go out and lie about the basic facts of the report that lay out a federal criminal violation?
Congressman, I need to disagree with at least one thing that you said, which is that I found that all of the elements were met. One of the elements of the relevant mishandling statute is the intent element. And what my report reflects is my judgment that based on the evidence, I would not be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt to a jury that that intent element had been
Right,
met.
but the reason...
And I think that that's really like they did a really good job of editing this, right? So, because one of the claims from the left is that this is super partisan and he's a Republican and he just wants to bash Biden and da 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 da. He corrected Gates very quickly when Gates said, you know, all of the things are met. He stood up to that and he made sure to say no, because intent is important. And I don't believe that I could prove intent because of his mental state. But had he wanted to, I guess, smear Biden, it'd have been much easier just to go, oh yeah, this guy willfully gave classified information to his ghostwriter, charge him with a crime.
I don't think he's a political hack.
I don't think so either.
I've never heard of him before this report.
Me either.
We probably will never hear from him again.
Right, exactly. It's very interesting, and I got a lot of respect for this guy. I may not agree necessarily with the report that he did, but I got a lot of respect for him because that took some cojones both sides are mad at him now. Yeah.
You have that doubt is the senile cooperator theory. The fact that Joe Biden is so inept in responding that you can't prove the intent, which again, I don't quibble with that conclusion, but it's frustrating to be like, oh, well, this guy's not getting treated the same way as Trump because the elevator's not going to the top floor, so we can't prove intent. While at the same time, Biden goes out there at the White House and says, well, you know, he just blatantly lies. And what I'm trying to figure out is whether or not Biden's lying because he's still so senile, he hasn't read your report, or whether it's a little craftier and a little more devious and perhaps a little more intentional.
What you were suggesting is that I needed to provide a different version of my report that would be fit for public release. That is nowhere in the rules. I was to prepare a confidential report that was comprehensive and thorough.
What is in the rules, Mr. Herr, what is in the rules is you don't gratuitously do things to prejudice the subject of an investigation when you're declining to prosecute. You don't gratuitously add language that you know will be useful in a political campaign. You were not born yesterday. You understood exactly what you were doing. It was a choice. You certainly didn't have to include that language. You could have said vis-a-vis the documents that were found at the university, the president did not recall. There is nothing more common. You know this, I know this. There is nothing more common with a witness of any age when asked about events that are years old to say, I do not recall. Indeed, they're instructed by their attorney to do that if they have any question about it. You understood that. You made a choice. That was a political choice. It was the wrong choice.
The foundation of our justice system is equal justice under law.
Yep.
That's what gives the law its respect and its legitimacy.
Supposed to be anyway.
And without it, the law is simply force, devoid of any moral authority. Justice is depicted as blindfolded for this very reason.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter who comes before her. All are treated equally.
It's supposed to be.
You destroy this foundation, and the rule of law becomes a sick mockery. It becomes a weapon to wield against political rivals and a tool of despotism. And I am desperately afraid that this decision of the Department of Justice has now crossed a very bright line.
This, my friends, this is a memory test. But it's not a memory test for President Biden.
Oh, boy.
It's a memory test for all of America.
Boy,
Do we
it's
remember
so-
fascism?
Oh, my
Remember
God.
Nazism? Remember communism and totalitarianism? Have we completely forgotten the sacrifices of our parents and grandparents in prior generations? Well, we play pin the tail on the donkey in this wild goose chase. All of these silly games. Donald Trump entertains authoritarian hustler Viktor Orban at Mar-a-Lago for the weekend, and Orban comes out to declare that if we indeed sleepwalk into another Trump presidency, Trump will, quote, not give a single penny to Ukraine. That's what all of this is about. It's about trying to pull the wool.
You know what? I'm glad he said that's what all this is about, because it is. It is. All of this is about the money. They need that money. And I'm not talking about Ukraine. I'm talking about all these congressmen and senators that are getting kickbacks from it.
There's never been able to be proved that, but yes, there's enough circumstantial evidence to bring that up. Yes.
Yeah. And it is beyond a shadow of a doubt at this point to me that our money is not being used properly for that Ukraine thing, right? Every single time we try to get audits, they're against it.
Yeah, there was an article about that the other day.
Yep. There was an article where they showed that about 10% of what we've sent has actually been delivered provably, because I think I'm pretty sure you sent it to me. And let's finish this real quick, because I want to bring that up so you guys can see that.
Over the eyes of America, because
This guy's
the
an idiot.
tyrants and dictators of the world are on the march today. So who wins with this ludicrous, embarrassing spectacle? Orban wins, Putin wins, Xi wins, the tyrants of the world win. They have one more reason to celebrate Donald Trump and his cult followers, who've completely lost their way. They're looking for high crimes and misdemeanors. Now they appoint themselves amateur memory specialists, and that's what they pounce on the president of the United States about.
To watch this entire hearing. Definitely.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Here's that article that I sent you.
Okay.
I'll send it to you if you want to put it on there.
Yeah. Okay. You sent it to me on Facebook?
Yep.
There it is. Okay. All right. So I want to show you guys, because he called it. He said, that's what this is about, right after talking about Ukraine. And this is really what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen, the money. Pentagon can't guarantee accurate tracking of Ukraine aid, Watchdog finds. The Pentagon has no standardized guidance for tracking and reporting the status of weapons deliveries to Ukraine, a government report revealed this week, making it impossible to know exactly how many munitions have actually made their way to Eastern Europe. With congressional opponents of continued military aid for Ukraine citing accountability for $42 billion in U.S. sent weapons as one of their main concerns. Gee, I wonder frickin' why. The Government Accountability Office, GAO, report released Wednesday revealed much of the uncertainty is not Kyiv's fault, but that of the Defense Department. I don't give a shit whose fault it is.
Yeah.
Stop it.
They don't need any more.
They don't need any more money or weapons or anything. Anyway, I want to show you guys one thing in particular. It talks about the different branches and how they track it and all of that. Here's where it's really important, though. Let me get to it because, okay. The auditors found there were zero records for the delivery status of nearly half of all the USAI orders for Ukraine. As of July, just 8% of all USAI orders were reported as having been completed. But it is impossible to know the figure's accuracy without records for 56 of the 118 total USAI orders, according to the report. While USAI assistance by nature is delivered over a longer time frame because the weapons have to be manufactured in the U.S., the GAO also urged the Pentagon to keep up-to-date records for all of the USAI orders it oversees. Once again, no records for half of this stuff. As of July, just 8% of all the orders were reported as having been completed. 8%. This is why they don't need more freaking stuff. Deliver the shit that we paid for already.
And tell us where that money went.
And tell us exactly where the money went. Where are our tax dollars going? Yeah. That's what I want to know. Where is our money? That's what it comes down to. And both sides of the aisle are just as guilty with this BS. It's a uniparty, especially as far as this foreign aid crap goes.
Yes.
For Ukraine, it's a uniparty. All of these congressmen and senators are jumping on it going, oh, yeah, we need to send them more money because Russia, big bad Russia, let's send them more money and weapons.
The only member that I've seen really stand up in the House against Ukraine, actually two, is Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene have been speaking out against it.
Oh, she actually said something?
She has.
Okay, fair enough. I don't really follow her that much. I'm not entirely sure why. You're more the national guy. I tend to focus a little more locally, but this is stuff Americans need to be aware of. Yeah. And they are using our money when you bust your ass at work and you open that paycheck at the end of the week and it says FICA. Yeah. That's what this is. That FICA money. This is your FICA money right here. Yeah, and
stealing it.
Yeah. They are stealing your money and sending it to other countries. And I don't know about you, but I'm done with that. So far, $42 billion, guys.
That's not enough for them.
And it's not enough. They just wanted to do another 60. Nah, hell nah. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's like, and look, here's the bottom line, right? And it's an argument that can be made no matter how you feel about Ukraine or Russia or any of that stuff. How about we talk about more money when you finish what we already paid for? Or what we already, however it works, right? Because there's a system. They have to buy the weapons and then deliver them to the army, and then they, like, for example, they buy the new stuff, give it to the army, they take the old stuff, and they send it to Ukraine. And then Ukraine says, "Yeah, we received it." Okay, do that, finish that before you even think about another dollar. Period. 8%, guys. Just 8% has been actually delivered. And you know what? Maybe that's why they're having such a hard ass time defending against Russia. What they claim, right? It's so hard where they're getting slaughtered, and the reason they're getting slaughtered is because guys, all they need is another 60 billion of your dollars. Did you see that?
Yes.
Bruh.
I don't believe much that's coming out with the Ukraine-Russia war. You don't know what to believe.
Exactly. That's the thing. I have no idea. I don't live there. I don't have family that live there. I don't have any direct sources telling me what's going on. I certainly do not believe the media.
It'll be interesting if Trump does get in again. He says he can do it in a week, but I think it'll take longer than that. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Ukraine-Russia war.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see because let's face it, man. Number one, Putin. I think it's funny because they keep redoing these interviews with Putin where he explains very clearly why he wants Biden as president and not Trump, and it's like they can't believe it. Yeah, the media keeps going, but no, and he's like, dude, I'm telling you, look at what's happening, right? Look at what I'm doing. Look at what I've done. Biden's an idiot. He lets me do whatever I want and doesn't do anything. Trump, on the other hand, sanctions, this, that. Trump was really hard on Russia.
He was.
He was.
He
And
even kicked some people out of the embassy in our country when he was president.
yeah, he did. I remember. I forgot all about that. Yeah, he actually had some people removed from the Russian embassy because they were, I don't know, spies or something.
I can't remember.
You know, look it up, see if you can find it.
Yeah.
So anyway, Trump has been way harder on Russia. Did you guys see? I think this is really funny. Did you see? I'm going to actually bring it up because he sent this to me. Here in Northwest Indiana, steel is a critical part of our economy. Okay. Now we have a congressman. His name is Frank Mervan. Okay. And he represents Congressional District 1, which is us. But more importantly, I guess you could say, it is all the steel mills in Northwest Indiana, which we have several. I got to find it. But he's calling for tariffs again. Now, if you remember, here it is. There it is. Yep. Okay. If you remember, the left lost their minds about tariffs. Oh, come on.
Yeah,
This stupid ad blocker stuff. Hold on. Let me see. I can fix this. Just give me a second. There.
Oh.
Okay. It was ad blocker. Here's the thing. I'm telling you right now, less people would have ad blockers if it didn't swarm your screen with them. If there weren't like 30 of the freaking things all over the place. Let me show you guys this because this is entertainingly amusing to me. Because this guy, now I want to tell I ran in the election he won in 2020. I ran in that election. I didn't win, obviously, but he won on the D side. Someone else won on the Republican side, and he beat him handily. Okay, so Mervan, he's the guy. He's the U.S. rep from Indiana. Now, United States Rep Frank Mervan, D. Highland, is looking to restore tariffs on steel imports from Mexico. I don't know if you guys remember. I don't know if you remember, but the left lost their minds when he was talking about tariffs. When Trump introduced tariffs, oh my God, you would have thought he said gun down civilians. That's how nuts they went. You're destroying our businesses. You're oh my God. Mervan proposed the Stop Mexico Steel Surge Act in the U.S. House of Representatives this week. The legislation would reinstate Section 232 tariffs of 25% on steel imports from Mexico for at least a year. The administration would be able to lift the tariff if the Secretary of Commerce and U.S. Trade Representative determined Mexico was in compliance with the requirements of the 2019 Joint Agreement on Steel and Aluminum. The bill also would let the administration apply quotas or tariff rate quotas on steel imports that have had major surges. Quote, as Vice Chairman of the Congressional Steel Caucus, I know that it is imperative that we do everything we can to defend American steel workers against unfair trade practices, Mervan said. I am proud to collaborate in a bipartisan manner with my House and Senate colleagues on this initiative to ensure that our domestic steel industry will compete on a level playing field. That's not really what it sounds like, just so you know. He doesn't really sound like that, but to me, he does. So the bill was co-sponsored by U.S. Reps James Baird, R. Indiana, Troy Balderson, R. Ohio, Jim Banks, R. Indiana, Mike Bost, R. Indian.
India.
No, dude, it says Indian, R/Indian. They forgot the A on Indiana. Nick, freaking NWI Times, dude. This rag is a joke. Nikki Budzinski, D. Illinois, Rick Crawford, our Arkansas, Chris DeLucia, blah, 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 blah. Bunch of people. Quote, Mexico's practice of steel dumping is a flagrant breach of our trade agreement and has caused significant harm to our steel industry. You know, the very same thing Trump said. The very same thing. Bruh. Crawford said, quote, we cannot allow bad actors to take advantage of trade agreements by attacking one specific American industry. It's time to put our foot down and put tariffs in place to prevent Mexico from flooding our markets and causing further damage to American steel manufacturers. The United States had carved Mexico out of otherwise global tariffs that were imposed on national security grounds. Mexico and Canada were deemed preferred trade partners, given the amount of cross-border trade in North America and linked supply chains in the automotive and other industries. Oh, this is a lot. I'm not reading.
I found the article about.
But anyway, the short version, ladies and gentlemen, is Trump was right. Again, Trump was right. Trump was right. Trump. You know what I miss? I miss my little standee, man. I had to throw it away. Yeah, I had Trump behind me for like years. Yeah, years. But the cats were messing with in the base. It just wouldn't stand up, and the bottom looked all icky. So I finally had to retire him. Thinking about getting another one. Anyway, what were you saying?
The article about Trump expelling the Russian diplomats.
Oh, did you?
I sent it to you
Did you?
on Facebook.
Good. Okay. Let me check this out because this is important. 60. See, I didn't realize it was that many. Look at this, guys. I didn't remember it was that many. U.S. expels 60 Russian officials, closes consulate in Seattle. Look at that.
In
Let's
2018.
see. That was, March 26, 2018. So updated then. Trump ordered the expulsion of 60 Russian officials from the United States and ordered the closure of the Russian consulate in Seattle, the White House announced Monday. The move follows the poisoning of former Russian spies Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia in the English city of Salisbury on March 4th. Calling all of the 60 Russian spies working under the cover of diplomatic roles. They and their families are being given 7 days to leave the U.S. Of the 60 officers being expelled, 48 are members of the Russian embassy, and 12 are officers from Russia's mission to the United Nations in New York. So, yeah.
I didn't remember it was that many.
I didn't realize it was that many. I remember but I thought it was only a handful.
That's what I thought.
60 freaking people, dude. And people want to say, Biden is much harder. No, bro. No, bro.
Sanctions and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, he did sanctions. He expelled spies. I mean,
the thing is, he wants to be able to have a communication with these people.
I think part of what made Trump such an effective and respected president was, and you saw it kind of at the beginning of his term, and then towards the end of his term. He communicated directly with foreign leaders.
He did.
There were a few ambassador things that happened, but in general, if Trump wanted to iron something out, he picked up the phone and he called them. We don't have that under the current
Biden on the phone.
Right. It'd be like that video where he stared at it. Anyway, I think we're
all right.
Wrapping it up. What do you think? Unless there's something else you want to talk about. Nope. We went longer tonight because we were supposed to have a show last night and I had a migraine, so I had to cancel. So unfortunately we weren't able. But
that's Thursday night.
Okay. Yeah, Thursday. Wait, let me double check. Oh, I can't right now. As of right now, yes, but
Thursday and Saturday.
Thursday and Saturday. That sounds good to me. As always, it's a pleasure having you on the show, man. I think we have some really good discussions. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your time. Thank you for spending your time with us. And hope to see you next time. Again, Thursday, which is, let me look at the calendar here so I make sure I get it.
Second?
No, the 22nd, yeah. No, 21st. Thursday's the 21st. Okay. Saturday's the 23rd. So as of right now, Thursday the 21st, Saturday the 23rd. Now, on Monday or Tuesday, I really got to put my calendar on my computer because I got to use my phone as his camera. Because anyway, so all my stuff's on it, so I can't look at my stuff. But either Monday or Tuesday, we're doing a crossover event with a show called Mouthwash. And so we're going to have him on our show. And then immediately after, I'm going to be on his show. So I think it'll be really cool. They also do some like local politics, and they really go for like state to local. They don't really mess with national that much. Whereas we do lots of national with a sprinkling of local, I'd say. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I urge you, if you want to see the way that our justice system works with our elected officials, I urge you to look up LaPorte County Commissioner forgery. That might bring it up. Let me find it so I can give you the link. Let's see here. LaPorte County, Indiana Commissioner. Okay, yeah. So, and one of the other commissioners who recently got kicked off the Republican ballot, I might add, delivered fake snakes to a colleague.
Really?
Yeah. Merzinski. Yeah, there's the article right here. Indiana official delivers fake snake to colleague. Yeah. He tried denying it. He claimed that he didn't do it. The problem is they have surveillance cameras. I guess he forgot. And they also, not only do they have security cameras, but you need a card to get in and out. And it logged him. Yeah, dude, the guy's a moron. He is an absolute freaking moron. So the Republican county chair sued. Well, he didn't sue. He did a challenge to the election board, right? That said he can't file as a Republican because he doesn't meet the requirements, right? One of the requirements is being a Republican in good standing in order to run as a Republican. He also did his paperwork wrong. He didn't like initial certain boxes like you're supposed to, or sign certain boxes. And the statute is very clear. It's not may, it's shall. You have to do this. Now, had he been in person and turned it in, right? Because that was another challenge, was that he had faxed it to his daughter and had his daughter deliver it, right? Now, the election commission said, no, that's not enough to get him kicked off because we allow electronic submissions. So there's really no difference between that and an electronic submission. Okay, whatever. It's their choice, their ruling, etc. Right? That's what they decided. Okay. But on the paperwork being incorrectly filed, they said, yep, you can't run as a Republican. The Indiana Election Commission the LaPorte County version of that board initially said, and you can't run as a Republican because you donated to a Democrat. Okay. Which was actually the opponent of the person with the theft stuff. Donated anyway. So yeah. I could say a lot more, but I'm actually in the process of a lawsuit with these people, so I have to be very, very like limited about what I say. Anyway, so they decided, no, you can't be on the ballot, but then he appealed it, right? And he took it to actual court. Tom Alavizos is the judge currently for circuit court. He's retiring, by the way. I don't know if you watched the candidate videos I did, but we've got several people running in the Republican primary to replace Judge Alavizos. We had Chuck Watterson on. It was really good. He did really good, I think. We're going to have one of his opponents on very soon. We're getting an exact date for her. Julianne something. I forget her last name. Starts with an H. I don't recall. She'll be on soon. It'll all be on there, obviously. But Tom Alavizos said, okay, due to a previous case The second one wouldn't stand up, that basically you can't determine he's not a Democrat or a Republican in good standing just because he donated to a Democrat, right? But he still messed up his paperwork, and that was enough. And he said, nope, you're off the primary ballot. Now, the downside for the election board is they got to go make all new ballots, right?
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people don't like think of that, but yeah, they're going to have to anyway. So he unfortunately will not, fortunately will not be. Here's the thing, right? If he wants to run, he can still run as an independent in the general election. The sore loser law doesn't apply because he will not have lost the primary. So anyway, I'm just going to show you this because I think it's freaking vastly entertaining. All right. So here's, you guys suck. Hold on. I'm going to do this for this again. There. All right. Yep. So here is the guy who delivered the rubber snake. Okay. Dude. Anyway, you got to see him. I'm not going through all this for that, but I don't know why they demand we pay money, but I'm not. NWI Times will probably let me, hopefully. They got a picture. I guess not. Never mind. Anyway, yeah. So there's a lot going on, but if you look up, there is a press release. But this is, let's see if they actually have a link. No, I'm not reading that. But I'm looking to see. Okay, how about this? Here it is. Wait. Okay, here it is. Here. This is the one. All right. Oh, you guys suck. Hold on. It just wants me to disable the ad blocker. I'll do that. Just so I can show you guys, because I think it's really important. There it goes. Yep. All right. So, boop. LaPorte County Herald Dispatch. No charges filed against LaPorte County Commissioner, but special prosecutor blasts officials, right? Alleged forgery. Special prosecutor on the case had some choice words for county officials. Quote, even a cursory review of LaPorte County media outlets reveals a continuing and often bitter conflict among elected and appointed officials, past and present, that may seriously undermine public confidence in the effectiveness of local government. Marshall County Prosecutor E. Nelson Chipman Jr. wrote in a report released Monday. The people's business is far too important for that to continue. LaPorte County government is no exception. The squabble was better resolved at the ballot box rather than a jury box. Here's the bottom line, right? Where is it? It says we simply can't prove the intent. It doesn't say these things didn't happen. Joe Haney had said. Everything I reported was factually accurate. The main takeaway is proving intent. The forgery statute and the counterfeit statute both require intent and that somebody be defrauded. So the allegations were forgery, official misconduct, conflict of interest, and criminal conversion. That's a lot. Might add, this was her first year of her first term. First year. And I think we're up to 4 lawsuits already with her. Yeah. I call her Courtroom Connie. What?
2 years?
No, she got elected in 2023. No, 2022.
So yeah, 2 years.
Yeah, technically. Yeah. During her first year. Yeah, because that was last year, 2023. So she took office January of 23, and by the end of 2023, involved in at least 4 lawsuits. Yeah. Welcome to LaPorte County, ladies and gentlemen. It's nuts, man. And then, the other one's getting rubber snakes and lives in Florida, but yet is an Indiana county commissioner.
And then you got the missing money that we talked about.
Yeah. So you got millions of dollars
for the LaPorte
Community School Corporation that I did a video on that. They tried to close one of the schools. They tried to close the Kingsford Heights School, and people came out in force, dude. They came out in force because they love that school. And they did an about face on that. So here's what they did, right? And this is kind of clever. So the superintendent at the time, right, was Mark Francesconi. Okay. I think Mark. Either way, Francesconi I know is accurate. I'm not positive about the first name, but I think it is. Anyway, Francesconi was superintendent. Okay. Making, I might add, $180-something thousand a year. Yeah, all these administrative positions are vastly overpaid. But LaPorte County Community School District Superintendent Francesconi, he stepped down shortly after this missing money report came. And they brought this other lady to be the interim superintendent, who apparently had been there before and was like down in Fort Wayne or somewhere else, right? She's the fixer. She goes to these places, serves as interim, and then like fixes everything. Basically shutters doors on schools and stuff like that, right? Now, apparently she was the superintendent before, but after she left, the person who followed her had all kinds of issues with like the way that she did stuff, and like there were problems. Anyway, I might do a story on that at some point because it's frankly pretty interesting. But she comes in, she's only the interim. Now, Francesconi, though, was not fired. He was moved somewhere else and is still working for the LaPorte County Community School Corporation.
Wow.
Or LaPorte Community School. Yeah, LaPorte Community. It's not county, it's LaPorte. So he's still collecting a paycheck of sizable amount, I might add. Like I said, all these administrative positions are vastly overpaid. I mean, when you're making almost $200,000, doing what exactly? Going to school board meetings. That's what they do. Like that's what they do. And look, I'm sure that there's a job in there managing a school district. Yeah. I'm positive that there's work involved. I don't think it's worth $200,000 for a town the size of LaPorte. No, Michigan City, damn near $200,000. More because she's on other like boards and stuff. She collects like over $250,000 paid by the taxpayers of Michigan City every year. Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's just one person. When you add up all of them, we're talking millions and millions of dollars that could go to the students, that could go to better
the teachers.
Or the teachers.
The teachers
yeah.
making enough.
Bingo. That's what I say. That's why I've said this before. I'll say it again. We have these progressives primarily crying about public schools and how they're underfunded and how we need to spend more money and give more money and then, right? The problem is that, number one, in Indiana, half our budget goes to public schools. Over half. Yeah. When you look at the breakdown, it's like 50-point-something% or 51% of all our tax dollars go to public schools.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And then if you look, every single one of them have vast administrative costs. Our teachers, I think our teachers in LaPorte County make like $40,000 a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they always want more. Those unions
Exactly.
already pay 51%.
Yeah. Yeah. And they always want more. I'm going to look this up just so I can give you an accurate. Let's see here. Indiana budget. Okay, so let's see here. There should be a breakdown. Is it? Not exactly. Hold on. You know what? This is a good one, but this isn't what I want. I'm going to show you guys exactly. Hold on. Pie chart. Is this it? No, that's not it. There should be. I'm looking for like a pie chart so I can show you, but
I just got an interesting message from my phone.
Okay.
To change the subject.
Yeah.
RFK Jr., they're saying that he's going to, you know how it's been going around who he's going to pick for his vice president?
Yeah.
It's some woman I've never heard of. Her name's Nicole Shanahan. Have you ever heard of her?
No. Hold on. Let me look her up. Nicole.
Yep. I have never heard of her.
Shanahan. Oh, yeah. Okay. Sergey Brin's ex-wife. That's what popped up. Co-founder of Google. She's the ex-wife of the co-founder of Google. Sergey Brin. I knew that name. You got to be kidding me, dude. The one freaking person who was supposed to be outside the establishment is picking the ex-wife of the founder of Google. Give me a break, dude.
I hope it's just
Follow the wives. Have you heard that? Follow the wives? Yeah.
It's just a rumor.
If you look at the wives.
That's who he's going to pick.
Oh my God, dude. What? Bruh.
Wow.
That's interesting.
That is.
That is very
I
interesting.
just wanted to add that in.
Yeah. So I'm gonna show you guys here this so you can see Nicole Shanahan, right? Look her up. But the budget for Indiana, the total budget, reported general fund appropriations of $22 billion for fiscal year 2024, right? So $22 billion Indiana is spending. Total spending, okay, hold on. That's general fund. The general fund is $22 billion. Total spending, $51.6 billion in fiscal year 2024. So 51.6, right? Now, let's see. Okay, Indiana budget 2024 schools. Is this it? Okay, here we go. Yeah, here it is. When you add in, okay, so it looks like it's just under half now. This is 2024. All right, so let me show you guys because this is how crazy it is. Schools will see $8.84 billion for tuition support in fiscal year 2024, $9.03 billion in fiscal year 2025. That's $312.1 million more over the biennium, an additional $148 million in year one and $164 million the second compared to the earlier draft of the budget, right? Now, here's the interesting part, right? If you look at K through 12 education, now this is in millions of dollars, right? 20,759. Now that's again in millions. So 20 billion $759 million or 47%. That's K through 12, right? Almost half of the entire budget of the state of Indiana goes to K through 12 education, higher education, right? 4,353,000. So 4.3 billion. Yeah, 4.3 billion. So between K through 12 and the higher education, that's 57% of our budget for education.
We need to reform. We need to find out where that money's going.
Yeah. Well, see, here's part of the problem, right? So the left is all up in arms because the state, to a degree, took control of the schools and what they can do, right? They want unrestricted access with no rules or regulations, just to be allowed to run rampant.
Yeah.
No formal, testing or any of that. This is a lot of freaking money, dude.
I didn't even realize it was that much.
Yeah, when I ran for state rep, I really looked into where our money's going.
Yeah.
And yikes.
Yeah.
Medicaid is $8.2 billion, right? So 18% of our budget. Health and Human Services, $3.5 billion. Public safety, $904 million. 2%. 2%. General government, $3.1 billion. $3.150 billion, or 7%. So our government itself costs 7% of our budget, okay? Which is kind of high, honestly, if you think about it. $3.1 billion is a lot of money for just government, right?
That's to keep the lights on, and
I think so, yeah.
probably to pay the politicians.
Yep, exactly. And to pay the various people that work for all these government agencies, right? Corrections. Now that's, Indiana State Prison, etc. $1.8 billion, or 4%. So 4% plus 7% from general is 11, 13 with public safety, right? So we're up to 13% of the budget. No, that's not right. 23. Yeah, 7. That's no, wait, hold on. Oh, because I didn't add that yet. So all right, 7, 11, 13 plus 8, 21, right?
Yep.
So Health and Human Services, Public Safety, Corrections, and Government. General Government Fund, 21%. And then you got Medicaid, 18%. Now, remember, these are the same people that, I think it's Medicaid, either Medicaid or Health and Human Services, ended up spending way too much money when they were doing the I forget, my wife knows more about which program it was, but they ended up spending like $400 million over their budget. And there's a big problem trying to fix that, but yet we have 25 and change $billion for education. $25 billion. It's and somehow all we need to do to fix the problem with our education system is more money. That's their claim. If we just had more money, we need more money. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we're a 2.5 hour mark.
We're good.
We're good. I appreciate you guys joining us. We're trying to do this every week, and I think it's fun. I enjoy it. So, without further ado, I think we're going to call it a night.
Yeah.
God bless you. God bless Indiana, and God bless the United States of America.
If you'd like to support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Dion's Daily Dose. This has been Dion's Daily Dose, hosted by Dion Bergeron. Executive producers, Sean Holgram and Michael Beebe. Copyright 2024. Dion's Daily Dose, all rights reserved.